I was looking at our last list was May 14th.
Yeah, May.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you looked too.
So this is kind of our top watches, top first watches since May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we usually do multiple.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that. Yeah, I think we've been doing this for a little bit now. The 5 watches.
Yeah. It's kind of like our biannual list.
Yeah,
Got
it's fun. It's like for us, I think it's good and self-serving for us because we do try to a lot to watch new things like as much as we can,
yeah.
and so to be able to pick out the best ones is always really fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm looking at my list and they're all like fairly older movies that I've been wanting to see or just haven't seen before. Like the newest one is like 1992, I think. So yeah,
All right.
I tried to get back into some older movies that I just need to see and haven't seen yet. Yeah. So it's another good way to bring up those like quality movies that we haven't talked about as much, but one of us has finally gotten around to see or something. So
yeah, I think usually sometimes we've talked about them, and other times we'll be like, oh, you watched that, and it's just like a whole new thing. So do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start us off. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. My number 5 is a movie I know you've seen, and it's fairly well known, and I wish I'd seen it earlier, but it's Harold and Maude.
Oh yes, I don't know if I remember that you watched this or not, or I do try somewhat to keep track of what you watch. But yeah, I saw Harold and Maude like a couple years ago, and it was a big one for me, and it's like I think it's a big one for anybody when they first watch Harold and Maude.
Yeah, totally. And this is one of those movies where I had just heard of, like it's like those names like Thelma and Louise or whatever, you just hear those two names together, and that's pretty much all I knew about the movie. So I went into it knowing very little, and then I ended up taking away a lot. And I didn't realize how much I would really love this movie. It's just this younger kid or boy. I guess he's not like he's not like a young kid or anything. He's
like a young man.
Yeah, young
I'd
adult.
say,
yeah. But yeah, he's just obsessed with death.
He's a depressive.
Yeah, very depressed, and it's so funny, and just in the beginning too, just all the different ways he pretends to be dead and kill himself and everything. Which it's a very dark comedy, obviously.
Yeah.
But and then he befriends Maude, who's this older woman who's almost like the opposite of him, but they form this great bond, and it's has all these like dark comedic moments, but it's also a very feel good movie, and also very sad too. So it's definitely an emotional movie that really struck a chord with me. I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot, and I don't know. I'm just really glad that I finally saw it, and I wish I had seen it sooner because I didn't realize how much it would like resonate with me. And yeah, and now that I've seen it,
it's got Simon and Garfunkel on the soundtrack as well.
Great soundtrack.
It has that 70s like feel to like in how like 70s movies would have a Simon and Garfunkel soundtrack and play that song over and over again. It's so it gets like ingrained in your brain, and when you can't really see that song and the movie separately ever.
I think it's got Cat Stevens music in it too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, which I think I don't know if there's any original music or not, or if it was,
yeah,
or the soundtrack's all just um
yeah. I was more main like thinking about like just the main like theme of the movie.
hmm yeah. Yeah, great music too. And a lot of it was actually shot around where I live now. So there
Yeah.
were
Oh,
a
okay.
few scenes where I recognized
I
places.
can see that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was in the San Francisco Bay Area, a lot in the peninsula where I live now. So yeah, that was kind of neat too. And it was I think it was a good quarantine movie. This was in the earlier days of
Yeah.
quarantine.
Yeah, because it's depressing but uplifting.
Yeah,
So, and I
bittersweet.
think, yeah, and I think it has. I think um, it has to be that negative in order to feel that uplifting in the end, you know.
Yeah.
And it's but it's not also a downer because it's comedic.
hmm
Um, so I just like how this movie it not only like it's just really accessible, but it's also I don't know. I think there's a lot more than meets the eye to it as well, and it also has a lot of artistic value. But yet, I think anybody could sit down and watch it at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think it I don't know, it's just the relationship is so perfect too. It's this young kid who feels like he's so misunderstood um and this older woman who's, she's had a full life and she thinks you should live life to the fullest. They're just at these two like completely opposite parts in their life. So yeah, I think I mean it's relatable to anyone, young and old.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really liked Harold and Maude. That's my number 5.
Okay, my number five is True Grit by
Oh,
the Coen Brothers. True
nice.
Grit.
Yes.
Yeah, this is one where I'm sure I'm late. I know I'm late to the party, but nevertheless, and it's also like I'm getting to the end of the Coens filmography. Actually, I only have a few more to go.
hmm
Um, but nevertheless, seeing True Grit this late in the game, I felt like I was just I really appreciated it a lot. Like I just thought it was really great, and I loved the cast, and I
hmm
thought it was really funny, and also just a really great story. And I haven't seen the old True Grit with John Wayne, but I just do have a feeling that the Coens not necessarily made a better movie, but like the fact that they saw a reason to make another True Grit just meant that they like felt they had uh, definitely something fresh and different and new to bring to the table to
Yeah.
the material. So and you feel it when you watch this movie because it really is something special. Um, I just I love the cast. I love Haley Steinfeld and I love Jeff Bridges is it's possibly his uh, my favorite acting role of his. And Matt Damon is just hilarious as the Beef. Um, and the way Josh Brolin just pops up and ends up being like the crazy man is just great too. And also Haley Steinfeld is amazing. And I
hmm
did she get nominated for an award for this movie?
I
I
think
thought
she
I
might
looked that
have.
up at one point. Um,
Yeah, she's really great in it. And just her and Jeff Bridges together,
so
so perfect.
this movie got a bunch of nominations for Academy Award. It didn't win anything, but Haley Steinfeld did get nominated for Best Performance.
Nice.
And pretty much uh, most things to do, most people in this movie got nominated for an Oscar. I don't think Deakins did not, but
Oh man.
Deacon's always it's fine.
He'll be okay. Yeah.
Deacon's shoots this movie very well. Yeah, just really love this movie. It's got great just character moments throughout, and it builds to a very a very dramatic conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have seen the original True Grit, but uh I mean, knowing that the Cohen's version exists, I have never gone back to the original. And it's not like
Yeah,
it's not bad by any means, but yeah, the Coens just have such a great like fresh take on it, and yeah, I just the cast I just
yeah.
like so much better than
Cass keeps you coming back.
yeah. I of course love John Wayne in a western. He's he is like the western actor, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get over Jeff Bridges playing
Hmm.
Rooster Cogburn or whatever. Yeah, what definitely one of my favorite modern westerns, if not my favorite. Yeah,
Oh, for sure. Like that and like Bone Tomahawk in the past
yeah,
decade are definitely the best for me.
yeah. And I like what you said too. Like the Coens wouldn't just do this if they didn't have like something meaningful
Hmm.
to do with it,
Yeah,
or a new fresh way to
yeah.
take it, because it's way better than expected out of just a remake of a western. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely a
believe
fan.
it's their only remake, I believe.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's True Grit, my
True
number
Grit.
five.
Nice. All right. My number four. So my number four. So thanks to HBO Max, I finally, and this I'm definitely late to the party, but in the past year, I've finally gotten into Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki movies, and especially
Same.
now, thanks
I'm in the
since
same
HBO
exact
Max,
boat.
yeah, since HBO Max came out, now they're pretty much all on there. So I had to include one of them, and the ones that I've seen in this year that we talked a little bit about Kiki's Delivery Service, which I saw and I love now, and I know we talked about that after you saw it, and we also talked about Princess Mononoke, which I'd seen this year.
Yeah, that's
Um,
the one I still have to watch.
yeah, and we talked about Spirited Away and My Neighbor
Hmm.
Totoro a while back.
Yeah,
So I wanted to bring up one that we haven't talked about yet, which I saw recently, and that's Porco Rosso.
I lied. I haven't seen this one either.
Yeah, Porco Rosso. I had not heard much of anything about, but I wanted to watch a Miyazaki movie, and I picked it just based on the picture alone, which is just this pig, Porco Rosso, in this plane. And I was like, this looks like a fun movie. And yeah, it's Porco Rosso turned out to be more of an adult themed Miyazaki movie than the other ones that I've seen so far. But really loved it. I really haven't seen a Ghibli or Miyazaki movie that I haven't thought is like amazing yet. Um, which I've definitely only hit like the big ones so far. But yeah, Porco Rosso is a little more adult themed. Still a hell of a lot of political commentary. It's very anti-fascist, and a lot of socialist themes in it and everything. And um, basically, I thought the whole movie was going to be a bunch of pig people, but actually, Porco Rosso is a um, Italian fighter pilot who had a curse put on him to turn him into a pig. So everyone else is normal, and Porco Rosso is uh, he's sort of he's this womanizer, chauvinistic um, uh, pilot vet from the Italian army who's sort of at towards the end, not at the end of his life, but he's out of his prime. He's not fighting in wars or anything anymore, and he feels like he's sort of the last of his kind, and he's very anti-fascist. And so this has a much more like um, gloomy and nostalgic tone to it than some of the other Miyazaki movies I've seen. But I really loved it, and uh, yeah, there's so much political commentary in it that I think is very relatable to everything that's going on right now. And I know if I looked more into it, I think it has a lot to do with um, Italian fascism and also international conflict with Japan around the 80s and 90s. Um, but yeah, I mean, Porco Rosso, it sounds very, very like melancholic, but it's still like a fun Studio Ghibli movie at its core too. And
Yeah,
Michael Keaton is he plays the lead character, and he's awesome in it. I
yeah,
loved Michael Keaton as the lead character. I thought his voice is perfect. And I don't know about you, but I've all of these Miyazaki movies I've watched with English dubs. But I guess a lot of
yeah.
people think that's like um
There's something to say about that,
yeah, I think a
basically.
lot of people think that's I can't think of the word. But it's not how they were intended to be seen, that you should see the Japanese dub
Hmm.
with English subtitles. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I've never had a problem with the English dub. I watch
Yeah, I've dug them
yeah.
because they're all like done by incredible actors,
Hmm.
pretty much. Like in Howl's Moving Castle, like I love Christian Bale as Howl.
Oh,
Um,
dang, I didn't know he was in that. Yeah.
yeah, like his voice is just so perfect to me, for that world. And like what Kirsten Dunst does in Kiki's Delivery Service is also
Yeah.
just so great. So I've never thought about that.
Hmm.
Honestly, like I did hear recently about how they're all about the dubs and what people think of the dubs, but um, I never knew that they were intended to be watched another way, and I just objectively don't think I objectively think the dubs are really good because of
Yeah.
they pick such talented people.
Yeah. And they're animated, so they're, dubbed either way. Like I would never watch a live action Japanese movie with English dubbed over it. You know, I wouldn't want to see that, but this is
Yeah,
animated,
but
and
yeah, like if you have the choice.
yeah, right. And yeah, and the dubs are
And
amazing. Yeah, Michael
I think
Keaton.
it's like getting a lot more people to get into Miyazaki's work too, because Um, we've talked about this, and people are always talking about, especially after Parasite won Best Picture. It's like, like you and I don't have this problem. A lot of other people don't have this problem, but a lot of people do have the problem where they don't want to read when they watch,
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
when they consume media. And I have like I know people who've watched all the Studio Ghibli movies, and I just don't think they would have if they would have had to read subtitles.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's a trade-off.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to have the English dub, otherwise you for sure lose a lot of your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've never had a problem with it too. So yeah, I'm glad you're in the same boat, and I won't be shamed for not watching the Japanese dub. Not that I wouldn't ever rewatch. Maybe I'd rewatch one that I've already seen with Japanese dub and English subtitles. Maybe that's what I'll do. But yeah, that's Porco Rosso, and I hopefully this year we'll see even more uh, Studio Ghibli movies that are on HBO Max.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
On HBO Max. It
on HBO Max. Yeah,
sounds like an
use
ad.
promo code BUMS for 20% off. Yeah. All right, it's my
All
number
right.
four.
My number four is a movie with subtitles.
Oh, all right.
It is
Good segue.
Yasujiro Ozu's Tokyo Story.
Ah, Ozu.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you've heard of this film, but it's
Mhm.
we're using the term. I will use this term again. I think I'm late to the party on Tokyo Story.
It's been on
um,
my like criterion list for so long, and I have not gotten around to it.
so yeah, Tokyo Story is a 1953 movie by Yasujiro Ozu. It's essentially follows a an elderly couple as they go to Tokyo to visit their children. One is a doctor, and one is a daughter with a family and a hairdresser, and both of them just don't have really a lot of time for their parents in their new lives. So they actually end up a lot of the movie they are actually spending time with the widow of their dead son who was killed in the war. Um, so this movie's a lot about just that whole to me that whole dynamic of like parents getting older, um, and and like there's the whole excitement of seeing of visiting children, but the fact that your children have their own lives now, so
Hmm.
they're not really a part of that, and just kind of the loneliness uh, that creates for parents when they get older. It's also a lot about a lot about grief because their son is dead, and they're spending and they actually are bonding more with the widow of their dead son than with their actual children who are still alive, because their children are just so busy. Like there's multiple times um, where they don't have a place to be or stay because their kids are having friends over or something like that. So so then they end up staying at their son's widow's home. Um, and so yeah, this movie is it's very sad, and it's
Hmm.
very tragic, and it's also but it also has quite a just a it's a uh, very peaceful watch, a very calming watch. Like this movie is shot like really beautifully, and mainly takes place in a lot of like tight Japanese homes where they're all kind of like sitting on the ground, like on their sitting on the carpet or ground on their knees or whatever, how they do in that culture. And a lot of it is about the formality of just speaking in that environment and family dynamic on what are like what they're like, just them eating, or like, do you want tea, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so it's got a very homey feel to it, even though it's very and a family feel to it, even though it's very sad as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely late to the party when it comes to Ozu, but I've seen some like videos on him, and it seems like his filmography is very much like family oriented, and sad too. Um, so yeah, it's been hard for me to get into that because of those reasons, but it's also been so long since I've seen a movie like how you described it that I think I need to see Tokyo Story.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a beautiful movie, for sure. And there's movies that actually, I won't say that. This movie kind of does hit pretty hard. So I won't say what I was about to say.
Yeah, wow, that's definitely been on my list for a while, but I gotta go get around to it. But yeah, nice. Have you seen any other Ozu?
No, but I'll get to it.
Yeah. Same, yeah. Nice. All right. Okay, so the next one, on my list, what is this, number three?
Yep.
Yeah, number three is one we talked about recently, our last episode, I think, but it's Peeping Tom. The
Oh,
So we talked about this for our Halloween episode.
yeah, I
Um,
recall.
but yeah, I had to include this one on my list regardless because it's it sort of reminded me of the movies that really got me into watching more movies and seeing what else was out there besides, just the mainstream blockbusters and everything I'd seen before. Because yeah, Peeping Tom, it's a very Hitchcockian thriller slasher movie, but it has a unique twist on it. And like just being movie fans like us, Cinebums, we would be interested in just the setting of it too, and how it's this uh, cameraman who is working on film sets, and he also murders people using his camera. So yeah, uh,
Sounds a little De Palma like.
yes, it's yeah, very very reminiscent of De Palma and Hitchcock. It's directed by Michael Powell, who I'm realizing now.
Oh,
He's
like
done like
Powell and Pressburger, like that guy. Is
I don't know.
that
Yes,
the same guy?
yes, partnership with Emmerich Pressburger. Yeah,
Nice.
so he's done The
Yeah,
Red
so he's really
Shoes.
good.
Yeah, so he's actually a pretty big deal. Um, but yeah,
I'm nervous now. I didn't realize what I was doing,
wow,
even what I
now
was talking about.
there's so much more weight uh, to this ranking now. Maybe I should have ranked it higher. Oh my god. Yeah, but Peeping Tom is one of Michael Powell's best, if I do say so myself. Yeah, it's just a good quality thriller movie, and yeah, and it just reminded me of seeing a Hitchcock movie for the first time, or even De Palma, like seeing Blowout or Carrie for the first time. Um, yeah, and I just think it was sort of right up my alley, um, towards my movie tastes. But yeah, I think you'd like it too, Luke, and I think
Yeah,
anyone out there would as well. Yeah.
nice. I didn't get to that one, but I don't know if you saw after our Halloween special, I watched like a few of the movies that you talked about on that episode.
Yeah,
But I didn't watch Peeping Tom.
yeah, I did see your letterboxed. Um, yeah, so that was cool. Yeah, Peeping Tom is one. Yeah, you should add to that list.
Is that HBO Max too?
That was Amazon Prime. Yeah,
Okay.
it's getting hard to remember where
It's
where
just
you
one of
watch
those
everything.
two usually.
Yeah, yeah. I will say that was the first movie I'd watched on Amazon Prime in a while, and I've been sleeping on Amazon Prime. They've actually got
Oh,
a good
yeah, I
selection,
don't go on it that often, but yeah,
right?
I went on one day. I was like, "Holy fuck."
Yeah. How did I not know all this? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think HBO Max took a lot of its thunder for a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my number three.
All right. All right, so my number 3, um we did an episode on this movie.
Oh,
So you've seen it, of course. It is Spielberg's AI.
AI, nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, this movie, I just had to put it on there because I thought it was absolutely great. And it's one that I think we talked about it being an under the radar Spielberg to a degree, and
Yeah.
like I don't know, that's just kind of the way I am. If something is doesn't get as much recognition as I think it should, or even if I think it's getting too much recognition, I will usually go against the grain and fight the other way. So I will do that same thing for this movie because AI is not as talked about or seen raved about in the way a lot of Spielberg's '90s. Well, this is in the '90s movie, but just Spielberg's movies in general are. I do think that this is easily one of his more unique movies and probably his most dark movies. Like when I look back on this movie, I like really, I just like if I ever catch myself thinking about it, I'll just be like, yeah, this movie is like the most fucked up. It's so
Yeah.
fucked up, like it really is. Um, yeah, uh,
I think we
yeah, I
did both AI and Schindler's List in the same episode too, which was a
yeah,
very heavy,
yeah, yep,
heavy
yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know. I would even argue to a degree that AI, just because it is more subtle, because it's more subtle and the sci-fi elements and just what it does with it, with Haley Joel Osment's character, and especially since the ending is not as necessarily beautiful or hopeful as Schindler's List, I would almost even argue, looking 2020 hindsight, that the AI is darker than Schindler's List, uh,
Whoa.
which is like headlines for a lot of people. But I I don't think it's that crazy if you dig into AI a lot.
Ooh, that's gonna be our clickbait. Is we found a movie that's even darker than Schindler's List.
Yeah, well, and even like saying that about not just like a movie, like a Spielberg movie, a darker
Yeah,
Spielberg movie. Yeah, so that's yeah.
yeah. It definitely is. It is not anything what I thought it would be. Because yeah, it is very much under the radar for a Spielberg movie, and I thought it was gonna be kind of a generic sci-fi from that
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
I had no idea really what the movie was about, and the just themes of like humanity and family in it. And it might be Haley Joel Osment's best performance.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say so. I mean, I just got to rewatch The Sixth Sense again and
yeah, it's
then
been a while
compare
since
the
I've seen
two.
that. Yeah,
But I don't even think, maybe I don't even need to, because I think it's really hard to beat this his acting in this movie.
yeah,
He's incredible in it.
yeah. It's after watching it, you can tell why he was like biggest
Yeah.
child movie star of that time. Yeah, AI was definitely a lot better than I expected it to be, or I liked it a lot more than I would have.
Yeah, and especially for it to be like as good as it is and dark as it is with a child actor, and it's very and the child actor is not like just a stepping stone. Like he is in every scene like throughout.
Yeah,
So it's pretty remarkable.
yeah, he carries the movie for sure. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's AI
AI.
again.
Right. All right. So the next, my number two. This is another one we talked about on our Halloween list, but I did see that you saw this too now. It's Carnival of Souls.
Yeah, yeah, I did watch Carnival of Souls.
Yeah. And man, yeah, this one I think it's this high up on my list too, just because I didn't know what to expect when I went into it. And
Yeah, me neither. I knew nothing.
yeah, and it just completely um blew me away. And because it's not just a generic horror movie, and it doesn't feel dated at all, it still really holds up. And yeah, it's just absolutely haunting and terrifying, but
Hmm.
in the best ways, in the ways that I like. There's not a ton of jump scares. It's
Yeah,
it's
all atmosphere.
all atmosphere. Yeah. And
And a lot of just very haunting imagery.
yeah, and I still can't get the what is his what is he called in it? The Man. He's just called the Man. I can't get the images of him like out of my head too after seeing
Yeah.
it. It's definitely one that'll probably be like an October regular for me. along with Peeping Tom, but maybe even just an anytime horror movie. Yeah, I really loved it, and all the underlying themes too. About mental illness, grieving process. I feel like there's so many other themes layered in it that I would need to watch it again and take something else out of it too. It's not just a horror movie to watch for the sake of being scared or um, yeah, or to get away from some killer or some ghosts or anything. It's yeah, there's so much more to it. So I think on a rewatch you could really take something else away from it. But yeah, Carnival of Souls really loved, and yeah,
Yeah, this is one of those watches for me, like where I talked about with Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, how I watched late in my basement.
yeah,
And I watched so I started this late in my basement, and
ooh,
I just smoked some weed, and I knew nothing about it, kind of like you said.
hmm,
And then it began, and I'm like realizing, more and more, I'm like, wait, this is like a really like terrifying movie. Like this movie's like affecting me, and it
yeah,
really just like and I was like, all right, we're going with it, like one
yeah,
1 a.m. or whatever time it was. And it really was I, it was one of those rare moments where I, like on a first watch of a horror movie, where it really just started to creep me out.
yeah,
Like just the aura of it, like I just felt it like throughout the whole watch. And I liked that a lot.
yeah. And there aren't really like jump scares, so to speak, but it's
Yeah,
the subtle like when she walks onto that bus, and I don't want to spoil it
yeah,
for anyone who hasn't seen when she walks onto that bus, and it's just like holy shit, like yeah, like my heart just stopped for a little bit. Or just any time when
yeah.
the man
She's like
appears in
driving down
some
the street,
way.
and down the road you see a guy like
Yeah,
like
yeah, it's just those subtle things
yeah,
just are
just like
so
the
terrifying.
the
Yeah,
the fact that yeah, just all these things can't get out of her, it can't get out of her mind. She
yeah,
can't get it out of her mind. It kind of like has the same effect on the audience.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I still just like think about it a lot. So it's one of those that has stuck with me. So I know I'm gonna need to revisit that one a lot. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, Carnival of Souls.
my number two.
All right, my number two is a 2006 movie called Old Joy.
Oh,
So this is a Kelly Reichardt film, and I recall from a past top five first watches episode, I actually had a Kelly Reichardt film, Wendy and Lucy.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, and so I actually like this year, particularly, I've been trying to watch more Kelly Reichardt because she came out with a movie this year called First Cow,
yeah.
um, which I watch, which is actually well, I don't know if it's necessarily a western, but it's like in a westernish, like that era setting. So,
Hmm.
and it was really good, and I think you'd like it, John.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, I because of that I've been watching more Kelly Reichardt. So I watched Old Joy, which is um kind of in a way like Wendy and Lucy, a fairly small independent movie, and also very short. Like this is Old Joy's 73 minutes, Wendy and Lucy is 80 minutes. And Old Joy basically it kind of takes a it kind of takes like a very familiar a very familiar story, but puts its own very poetic and beautiful tone on it. It basically features a guy who's about to be a dad, so he's he's got a wife, and suddenly, they're getting ready to settle down, and suddenly, an old friend who's kind of a little, I wouldn't even say he's not really eccentric, but maybe the life he lives now for this guy is eccentric. And he asks if he wants to go on a camping trip with him, take him to this. They go on a camping trip to the Oregon wilderness, and he wants to show him this cool place he knows of. So that's inciting incident, and the rest of the movie is that trip. And it's just mainly shows their dynamic on this trip, and there's no like huge outlash, Noah Baumbach outlashing like, you're not the same as you used to be. I have a wife. It's nothing like that. It's kind of way more subtle, and way more on like how people actually, are. And that, you see very subtle differences in the two as the trip goes on. And but it through doing this, it creates a very just calming, peaceful atmosphere. And they kind of end up at this kind of like make your own hot tub area in the wilderness. Plus they're also it's kind of, I don't know if that's definitely not the correct term for it, but it's kind
Gotta
of like
find me one
a,
of these make your own hot tub places.
yeah, it's like a steam. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna make it worse. But the where they are in the camping trip, it's just it's in the Oregon forest, and it's just beautiful. And just the setting in gen also adds a lot to the film. Um, and I don't really know how else to explain more about it. It's really one of those where, in order to really get it and feel it, you just kind of need to watch it, because
Hmm.
the movie doesn't have a lot of words, and it is more about the feel, and so words are kind of just not doing the movie justice. But it's an incredibly great late night watch, very soothing, and peaceful, uh, and I think very relatable, for especially people our age.
Hmm. Nice. Where did you watch this?
My brother Jake owns it.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
just I was just looking, and Wendy and Lucy is on Amazon Prime, so I added that to
Yeah.
the list to finally get to that. Um, but yeah, so I'll have to check out Old Joy too. And then First Cow, I've seen so much um,
Yeah,
on
really good.
Letterboxd. So
Really good.
yeah, I'm excited to. I'll probably have to
It's
rent that
it's
one.
what's funny, it's my favorite film of the year, with with Tenet, and they could not be more like different.
Yeah, based on how you've described her other movies, yeah, I can't imagine
Yeah, they
it's
could
anything
not be
like Tenet.
more different.
Yeah, nice. So that was your number two.
Yeah.
All right. So my number one, oh shit. I'm cheating a little bit, but yeah, I feel like it's okay. So my number one is just combined Sam Fuller,
Oh.
the Shot Corridor, and the Naked Kiss.
I thought you were
Which
gonna do like all three or whatever that
oh
you've
yeah, all of
seen.
the ones that we did, yeah. So this is just the Sam Fullers that I've seen since May, since the last time we did this. But yeah, we've talked about both the Naked Kiss and Shot Corridor a lot on the podcast. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely found sort of a new, not a new favorite, but a new director that I got really excited about seeing what else he's done. So it's sort of like once you see a couple of a director's movies, and they're like, "Wow, I really love both of these. I have to see what else he's done." So
Yeah.
Yeah, I've still been
Yeah.
slacking on seeing more than these, the three or four that we've talked about. But yeah, he's definitely, whenever I can find more of his movies streaming anywhere, I'm definitely gonna check those out. But um, yeah, Naked Kiss and Shot Quarter. I think at the time that I saw these two, it had been a while since I'd seen like movies from the 60s and 50s that I had really loved. Um, I went through a stretch of time. I feel like almost every year there's like a stretch of time where I like binge a bunch of like movies from the 50s and 60s, and then I love a few of them and everything. And I hadn't seen many in a while that really stuck out to me as much as these did. Um, and yeah, so just the noir uh, feel to them, the time period, they just felt like really new, fresh um, stories from this time that I hadn't really seen yet, and they all also seemed very much, yeah, just very woke for the time that they actually came out into.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely spoke our language for sure.
Yeah.
That hit me right away where I was like, this is so cool, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, these are definitely two of my favorite, like classic movies, if you can call them now. And yeah, there's just like iconic scenes to me that I think in my head, and just right from the get go of the naked kiss, sort of that POV shot of the woman and the man fighting, and yeah, there's just so many things that still stick out to me. Um, and yeah, we talked about them a bunch on past
A
past
lot of
episodes
on a
too.
lot of episodes, yeah.
Yeah, multiple. Yeah, so
And before we started recording today, I was saying that like Naked Kiss is on the Barnes and Noble Criterion sale, and I have to get it.
yes,
So yeah,
yeah. So that'll probably be a 50% off Barnes and Noble purchase in the future for at least one of us, if not both. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what more is there to say? I mean, we've talked about them a lot, but I for sure had to keep them on the list. Um, yes, that's my collective number one. It's both Sam Fullers. Yeah.
All right. My number one is the other half of our Spielberg episode. It's Schindler's List.
Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of actually disappointed in myself that I didn't include Schindler's List on my top five. I must have missed it somehow, but I think that's a great number one pick.
Yeah, I had a lot of movies that I could have put on this list. And yeah, I just eliminated them, and I had to put both of these Spielbergs on there because they, like, looking back on this year, they genuinely just stood out a lot. And I think Schindler's List. I don't remember my top five last time, but Schindler's List could be the first watch of the year so far, possibly, because it just is one that just hits you so hard, uh,
Yeah,
like it's impossible not to have a super meaningful watch when you watch this movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
What,
it's
what
just
is
one of
what is
the.
wrong
It's
with
just.
me? How did I miss Schindler's List? This should for sure be on my list. Uh, yeah, that
Yeah,
is.
I thought you. I didn't think you'd have AI on here, but I
Mhm.
definitely thought you'd have Schindler's List on here.
I didn't even. It wasn't even a consideration because I totally skipped past it. But
Yeah.
that's an extreme insult to the movie, because this is probably my number one too, to be honest. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
all
definitely
right.
think
At
it
least I
deserves
got it on here for the
spotlight.
both of us.
Yeah.
And what's I was actually like I was actually listening to our Schindler's List episode um one time, and it was one where I was like, I actually like thought we did a really good job, mainly because you could tell like how affected we were by this movie,
Yeah.
and we really went. I really liked how we just went into we just went into depth, like you felt like you had watched the movie after you'd listened to it,
Hmm.
and that's just like um and I think when we will watch a lot of movies for the first time, for an episode where we're kind of still figuring them out, as well, or they just don't grab your attention as much as this film does. But like I noticed like just a vast I forget how long we talked about it, but like I can't think of a lot of times where we've talked about one movie for that long.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, if you haven't heard our Schindler's List episode, go check that one out. I highly recommend it if you've seen Schindler's List before. That is because we do give a lot of stuff away. Um, but yeah, man. I'm not gonna go as far as say, oh boy, I just want to watch Schindler's List, again
Yeah,
the first
right. Yeah.
chance I get. But it is just such a great film.
Hmm.
And I'd be lying like you if I didn't put this as my
Shame.
number one.
Shame. Oh yeah. This because now when I'm thinking like uh of course I love those Sam Fuller movies and Carnival of Souls, but over Schindler's List? No. No. Yeah. Wow.
Of course, I love those Sam Fuller movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe I just went through my letterboxed list too fast, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, yeah. To be fair, probably looking through a lot of films.
yes, definitely. We've watched a lot since May. So but yeah, I mean, for sure the movie that I've seen recently that has had the biggest impact
Yeah.
on me after seeing it, and just the amount of time after it that I just needed to like yeah, just breathe and like reflect on everything that
Hmm.
I saw. Yeah, and it was almost like therapeutic when we then talked about it. I think we recorded it the day after I had seen it, so it was
Hmm.
still very like fresh on my mind.
Oh yeah, and I had just seen it.
Yeah, right before. Yeah,
Hmm.
so there was so
Yeah.
it was like perfect timing because I think I could bring up
You got to like talk about that with someone, and
yeah
especially if someone like hasn't seen it or hasn't just watched it necessarily, you're not going to have anybody to discuss it with, really.
yeah yeah, and I was really um I don't know, it met my expectations, but in the best way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because it was so like moving, and I just hadn't seen a movie that made me feel that way in a long time, and I think that's because it's one of the uh, I don't know, of like these historical dramas that you can do on a very touchy subject. It's for sure one of the best, and just I don't know, of a story of its kind too. It's hard to.
Yeah.
It sounds weird.
And-
It's hard to be better than Schindler's List in that realm, but not that it's like enjoyable to see that, but it is in a way. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's a
Meaningful.
masterpiece of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about this on that episode, but I was just very surprised and kind of taken off guard on how much was not only moved but actually just like felt immersed and enjoyed myself watch it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
um
it's one of the longest movies you could find, and
I think I
didn't feel
expected
that
to
way.
like appreciate it and not necessarily like connect with it on a personal level,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
And
definitely what happens.
and I think that's because it's very like authentic, and it doesn't sugarcoat things too. It's not just
Yeah.
very much like this was a bad thing that happened, and that's why that's why we have to reflect on this. It's like it really goes into who Schindler was too, the negative sides of him too, and his personal trajectory, and yeah, and you get into like the personal stories of all the characters surrounding him too. So yeah, it's not just sort of a basic historical reenactment. It was
Yeah.
really authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like definitely I don't think another first watch has beat that this year, and I think it's gonna take a while um
Mhm.
for one to beat it.
Yeah.
For me to have another like meaningful cinema experience like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I'm just thinking if Stephen A. Smith did some like commentary on this podcast episode, he'd be like, I remember when we were watching the NBA playoffs, and he's like, Jordan Clarkson's your leading scorer. Like he was like
Yeah.
chewing him out. He's like, you put Sam Fuller over Schindler's
It's
List.
like yeah, the
Yeah, he'd be chewing me
your
out.
leading scorer is Jordan Clarkson. There's nothing else to
Let that
talk
sink
about.
in. Yeah, there's nothing else to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah.
you put Shot Corridor over Schindler's List.
Yeah, your
Nothing
leading
else to talk about.
is the
Yeah.
naked kiss.
Yeah. That's all I can picture now after that pick. But I'm still glad we got to include those in there too. So yeah, no disrespect to Sam Fuller. Yeah.